I got distracted. Alright, let's see if I can talk during this. What's going on, guys? My name's Ethan. Doing a little channel rebranding. So, went from Stanky Slides to Stanky Motorsports. You know, I want to transition into doing some... Aw, I lost my RX-7, buddy. Transition into doing some more IRL stuff. Just sort of the topic of today's video. So, you can kind of think about this like an old-school Call of Duty live comm. I don't know if these communities cross very much, but yeah, I used to be into Call of Duty and COD videos back in the old school days, like 2011 to I guess 2015 is probably last time I really played COD religiously. But guys would do a lot of, you know, play the game and talk at the same time type shit, and that sounded fun. So today I've got a little story time into sort of some channel plans. So if that sounds interesting to you, stick around. So, as I'm sure you've noticed, the profile photo for this account is the rear end of a JZX100 Chaser parked in front of the Rocky Mountains. And it's not just any Chaser, that's my Chaser, or, well, it still is, but it won't be for very long. I'll give you a little story before I go into what happened. I have been a car guy for most of my life. Pretty much all of my life. My dad was very much into cars when he was alive when I was growing up. And after he passed, it was sort of a way for me to stay connected to him. It was through cars. And I've also had some of the worst car luck. When I was a teenager, I crashed cars a lot because I was driving like an asshole. Teenager stuff. And then as an adult, I've crashed cars a lot because other people drive like assholes. So we'll skip over the teenage bullshit because, again, you know, when you're 16, crash a car, it's your fault. I mean, unless someone rear-ends you or some shit, it's your fault. You probably were doing something dumb. Let's be real. At least that's how it was for me. But as an adult, you know, for a while I had a pretty boring fucking car. I was driving a Hyundai Elantra. It was just my daily. I had an Acura Legend, but it needed a bunch of work, and I was young, didn't have a lot of money to put into it. But I decided to sell the Legend and sell the Hyundai and my motorcycles and buy a Ford Focus ST. It was going to be kind of my first turbo car, nice little fun kind of tuner build. Still front wheel drive. It's kind of all I'd known at that point, but whatever. It still is fun. So I bought a red pre-facelift Focus ST, owned it for a few months, literally got plates on it 2 days prior to then being T-boned on my way home from the dog park. I'll pull up a quick photo of the car. You can see our male husky in the driver's seat just sitting there like, what the fuck, Dad? Can we go home? But I had both my boys in the car, and definitely was not good for our lab Zeus, who is now terrified of cars. But I decided in that moment, you know, I've only had this thing for a few months. I didn't get a chance to even buy any parts for it or anything. I'm going to go buy another one. So I went out and I bought a black post-facelift, or facelifted, ST. Went full bolt-on with the car, put a bunch of work into it, really loved the thing. Oh, it's a cat. Cat, you threw off my groove. You threw off my groove, little fuzzy one. Go on. Alright, cat smooch and break over. So I bought the black Focus, put mods on it, loved it, and then my wife and I, we bought a house, our first house, and it was an absolute fixer-upper. So we worked full-time during the day, and then at night we would go to the house and we would do all of the work on it ourselves. So we'd put in 15, 16-hour days for about a month straight, till it was more move-in ready. And at that time, my neighbor in my apartment, his son, who was into cars, mentioned he had never been on a canyon run and never been in a turbo car. So I was like, all right, well, let's go up in the mountains, and you know, we could take the Focus and have a good time. And I was definitely way too tired to be driving, and overestimated a corner and slid into a guardrail. Nothing crazy, nothing huge, but that was my last at-fault accident. You know, stupid shit. Everyone was perfectly fine. Car was still drivable. Had it repaired, whatever. About 3 months after getting it back from the body shop, I was heading home from work, and I had a school bus just completely not see me and merge into the car, and it can opener the entire driver's side of the car. So ended up totaling that one out, and there goes that car. After that, I was like, okay, I'm tired of front-wheel drive. Maybe all-wheel drive will be fun. So I was looking at Subarus, looking at Evos. Finally decided on a Golf R because I figured it would be sort of the best of both worlds, daily but still fast and fun. And so I picked up the cheapest blue Golf R that I could find in the United States. My dad and I flew out to Arizona, bought the car, road tripped it all the way home, and then I put in a bunch of work just cleaning up the thing. You know, doing some of the deferred maintenance guy had forgotten to do, tuned the car, got some wheels, definitely enjoyed it. And on the way home from work one day, 2x4 flew off of a truck's trailer and hit the front bumper. Not a bunch of damage, but I was like, okay, this is my baby. I got to go get this fixed. So I took it to a body shop through my insurance, had the damage repaired. All was well. A few months after I got the car back, I was driving home from work and had a teenager in his Silverado just completely merge into me. Wasn't looking when he merged and really bashed in the passenger side front fender, destroyed that wheel. Kind of did a number on the car, but whatever, it was repairable. So back to the body shop she went, had that damage fixed, finally got the car back after just months of sitting in paint hell. And I was happy. And then I was coming home from hanging out with a buddy, stopped at a light where there was an accident, car behind me stops, car behind them does not, slams into the back of that car going 40, pushes that car into the back of my car. So back to the body shop she goes, and at that point I'm fed up. I'm tired of it. There's too many issues with these hot hatchbacks getting hit. So I was like, what if I completely flip the script and I go buy something rear-wheel drive and sedan and not American spec and just something that I could kind of enjoy and that would be new for me. So that's when I bought that Chaser. I sold the Golf, bought that Chaser, and man, did I love that fucking car. It's a 1J GTE automatic, so it was not a manual car. I got too good of a deal to not buy it. And at first I was a little sad not to have a 5-speed, but the car was never meant to be my drift car. It was always going to be a daily driver. And the more I drove the auto, the more I liked it, to be honest with you, just because it was just good for cruising. And so when I went to go pick up that car, it was about 2 days after my daughter was born. And she came with my wife and I to look at the car, you know, brand new baby. Got a brand new car, well, new to me, it was a 97, but really just was living high on life. And over the last year, it's by far and away been my daughter's favorite car to ride in. If she's in her car seat for too long and not able to crawl around and get wild, she can kind of get fussy. And in my wife's car, which is a Tesla Model Y, there is no noise, no nothing that thing will do, so she just stays fussy. In my current daily, our 4Runner, same deal, you know, no noise, vibrates a little bit, a little floaty, but it's not a fun vehicle. But in the Chaser, there have been plenty of times we've been on kind of a longer drive, you know, on the highway, and she starts to get a little grumpy because we're just going straight and slow. Well, not slow, highway speed. So what I would tend to do is let the car in front of me kind of go a little bit, and then I would get on the gas and, you know, let the engine roar. It had a full Tomei exhaust, Tomei turbo. The thing was loud, and the turbo was talkative as hell. So I would just let it scream for a second, let off, hit the old and it would make my daughter laugh every single time. And it wasn't a fast car. It's not like I was doing anything dangerous. It made 300 wheel. Like, Tomei Big Turbo did not do as much as I had expected. I think that setup is rated at 450, but you needed cams and an exhaust manifold to make that power. But, you know, it was just a fun cruiser, and my plan was I was going to go buy something else to have as a track-dedicated drift car. Well, the other day, I took off work. Me and a bunch of work buddies were going to the racetrack, I wasn't going to drive it on the track, never planned to. But I still wanted to go hang out, do some ride-alongs, and just kind of meet some of these guys in person, because luckily now I work from home. So I figured, you know, most of my accidents were coming home from work. Should be fine. Track day was great. Great time. Did some ride-alongs with my buddy's Turbo Miata. Did some ride-alongs with my buddy's Elantra N, which I've got to say, Hyundai kind of cooked with that car. It's surprisingly good for a fucking Hyundai. I mean, comparing it to my '05 Elantra is like comparing a pedal bike to a Yamaha R1. And, you know, we all had our fun, left for the day in a convoy, taking the highway home, and I was getting ready to get on an exit that was backed up, and it suddenly went from 70 miles an hour to 0, so I slammed on the brakes, like everybody did. Cars in front of me slammed on the brakes, I slammed on the brakes, kind of veered off a little bit to try to avoid getting hit in the rear, checked my rear view, and sure enough, the lady behind me just was not looking. I think she was adjusting her radio, honestly. She wasn't on her phone, but just not fully glued into what's going on in front of her. And by the time she looks up and slammed on the brakes, it was far too late. She slammed in the back of the car going 50, and absolutely, like, there's no way this car is not totaled. I'll overlay some photos of the car here, but there's just no way. Rear fender is pushed all the way into the rear tire. There's a crease in the C pillar, crease in the B pillar, roof line's wavy. Like, car fucked. Car fucked for sure. And so this is kind of what I'm thinking. You know, I get home, talk to my wife for a little bit before I go drive myself to urgent care, because I was okay, but my back is sore, or was sore, and still is very sore. I'm a little rusty because of that here. But I was talking to my wife and mentioned, you know, we can just take this money, live on it for a little bit, just enjoy it, and I'll just drive the 4Runner and it'll be whatever. She's like, no, I know you. You need a fun car. Like, you can't just live driving a 4Runner all day, every day. So I was like, yeah, man, I love you. You're right. I would be sad. But the more I got to thinking about it, the more I'm like, this 4Runner's lasted a long time. We've had this thing for 4 or 5 years now, and it's been fine. We've had her Tesla for a couple years now, and I tend to drive it more than she does, or I used to anyways. And nothing's happened. Every fun car I've had within a year or year and a half has been totaled. So, well, the Golf I guess wasn't totaled, but it was in so many wrecks that I sold it, because I just didn't want to deal with it. So now I'm thinking, why don't I, instead of buy a street car, buy a drift car? I've never been on track in a car. I've taken plenty of bikes on tracks, but I've never been on track in a car. Never drifted a car in real life, only ever on the sim here. So why the fuck not? So this is the part of the video where I'm actually curious on y'all's opinions. I'm between 3 different cars. I think or 4 different cars actually. I've narrowed it down to 4. Technically 3, because the first one is 350Z or G35. Pretty much the same car. The G is a heavier Z. And honestly, in my opinion, might be a little bit more ragged on just because they tend to be cheaper. But just sort of depends on what sort of clean one I can find between those two. Lexus IS 300, if I can find a manual. I don't want another car that I have to transmission swap. I was looking at doing that on the Chaser. I did like that auto, but eventually I wanted to go R154. But it's more than I want to do for a car right now, I think. What I would like to do is just buy something that runs and drives and is decently clean mechanically. I don't really care about the body. And then throw some drifty mods on it, angle kit, hydro, seats, and take it to the track. So if I can find a clean IS300 with a manual, then I'll go that route. Or I've been thinking about like an E46. I've thought about a 36, but they're getting more expensive, and you have to do a lot of subframe reinforcement, so I'm not doing that. But I found some 46s that seem to be in good shape for around $6,000. Found a 330 Ci with a wide body kit where there's some damage under the wide body kit, but whatever. I'm just going to go tandem the car, so I don't really care if it gets damaged. So I don't really know. You know, I've never driven any of these platforms in real life. I've driven all of them on the sim, but that doesn't tell me much. I can't feel how a car feels here, other than some like responsiveness things and whatnot. But I can't really feel out a chassis. quite as much on here. And that also got me thinking, I could make this an entire series on YouTube. You know, I've been wanting to get back into making videos on this channel. It's been a while, and just parenting really took a lot of time, to be honest with you, and a lot of energy, on top of working a full-time job and other like personal life struggles. I just kind of put all this back on the back burner, so I was thinking I could make this a series for YouTube. Sim Drifter Goes Drifting, something along those lines. So, I'm curious if anyone in the comments has any opinions on what I should look at. You know, of those platforms, what's the most reliable? Probably the Lexus. What's the best for drifting? Maybe the E46. So I'm just curious on opinions from y'all, and curious if you guys would be interested in seeing a realistic budget drift car build. You know, I'm thinking keeping it around 15K for the car, the mods. Well, 10 to 15, depends on what insurance gives me for the Chaser. But 10 to 15 for the car, the mods, and the trailer. If I can't afford a trailer, then I'll probably rent one for a bit, but yeah, that's kind of my thought. So with that, I've done tons of takes of this video, and I'm a guy that wears glasses, so VR is hard with glasses. So I think I'm gonna end this video here. Opinions are welcome, and if you guys are interested in any more like storytime style videos, I may do this again, but this was also just to explain some of the rebranding and kind of let y'all know where I'm hoping to take this channel from here. I'll probably be doing still a lot of sim drifting stuff. I'd like to do kind of an updated how to drift, since clearly I'm much better than I used to be. But yeah, so if you guys are interested in sim drifting, real life drifting, I may try to do a dual purpose build and do a bit of grip too. I know it'd be a lot of redoing alignment, which would be a pain, but yeah, if you guys are interested in that, you know, subscribe, because I'm going to try to be a little more consistent posting on this channel if I can. But with that, I hope you guys enjoyed today's video, and if you're interested in drifting videos, sim drifting videos, sim gear reviews, parts reviews, car builds, all sorts of shit, then give me a subscribe, because I will be much more active than I've been. And I just wanted to thank y'all again for watching, and hope you have a great day and better car luck than I do.